Welcome to the Apex Insider Push to Cash recap of the Sonsio Grand Prix IMS. I got Nathan here with me. My man Nathan was actually on track, so it's his hometown race. Actually, also the bigger event coming up. But yeah, man, how was the race? Actually, how was the events for the weekend? Actually, I should ask.
It was great weather here. It was awesome. I got to be there a little bit on Friday. I got cut out at work after lunch, and then just kind of walked around, checked out some of the stuff that going on. Walked through the garage, watching practice and stuff. Great weather. Then went to the race on Saturday, which we kind of turned into like my friends. It's more like family. We're bringing like kids and stuff. We go to the infield mounds. We bring my wife and I we bring our niece. A little more of a family affair, and then the Indy 500 is the big, the big adults only celebration of the best day of the year.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something. I mean, I've always wanted to go and see the actual GP race in the infield IMS, but obviously Indy 500 is bucket list. I found out yesterday or a couple days ago, my niece is actually going to be attending her second Indy 500.
Oh, it's awesome.
So I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, so she kind of has me jealous. I told her, you know what, if you're going to keep going to this thing, which I'm surprised she was actually getting into it. I said next year I'll probably have to put that on the radar. So I'm going to definitely see if she's definitely going next year. I got to make it happen. So, uh,
Awesome. Yeah.
but yeah, but that's later. We'll get to later in the week with Indy 500. Lots of Indy 500. We got 2 weeks or a week and a half, whatever you want to say, of the best race of the year for Indy. I mean, hands down, it's the Super Bowl for them. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But for right now, we're going to recap what went on in the Sonsio GP, which I had a hard time because of the timing of it. I had family in town, and funny enough, I was sitting there. I said, I'm going to block you guys on Discord because I don't want to get spoiled. I do want to sit and watch this race. But I did have a moment where I was at a store and I was like, okay, I can maybe sit down and try to catch up on what's happening right when the race was starting. Interesting to see. I can't say I was surprised to see Palou stay in second and just kind of stay there managing his pace. You know, we knew going in, like he was far and beyond much better than everyone, just on the primaries alone on pure pace. So he knew, and especially the last race, we saw that as well. Like he just can control his own pace and still find a way. We saw it at thermal as well. Like he just kept his patience, kept calm. All he had to do was basically keep within a gap of Ray Hall, and he knew once he got onto the new sets of tires, the last two, that was it. It's going to be over for him, and that's exactly how it played out. So, I know a lot of us were saying just got to take Palou to win, and at first you're like, "Oh God, here we go!" Like maybe this is a Kirkwood type of situation we saw at Long Beach, but nope, he just far and away just cleared it. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on Palou, but I did want to first start there because all of us bet him. We chalked to it even at the minus 167 that we were able to capture in some books. But yeah, closing line I think was minus 200 on most books. So we just did it and set and forget. So yeah, any thoughts on Ray Hall or just Palou alone?
Well, yeah, I mean, first, Palou is having, me and probably a lot of us kind of shift our rules or how we do things of, you know, the last 5 years, I'm never touching a pre-qualifying person at even money. And I didn't this week, or at 150 or whatever, he's sitting at different books. But, I may, if it's a track like that, I may really have to consider to cover. I don't really want to be trying to I said on Saturday morning, I'm like hunting for profit boosts and things to take Pelot's big number
Mm-hmm.
and got a little bit shorter for myself and just cover because he looked so good. And so that's just a tough place to be in. I was able to make it work and get a little bit of profit out of that. But yeah, I'm betting Pelot at numbers or having to consider betting Pelot numbers that I would have never considered any other driver since I've been trying to do so. That's kind of interesting and something I'll just have to, roll with and adjust with, see how he's doing to the rest of the year. But yeah, being at the you don't get to you don't get to hear all the reports and everything exactly how it's going on, and really play it back today while I was working and just to kind of catch up on how everything folded. I know Pelot started on the used alternates and Ray on fresh alternates. And did you?
Yeah, sorry about that. There was getting a little cut off, so I apologize if we're getting a little disruption here, but we're getting some poor connections at times. So
Yep,
yep,
sorry about
but you're
that.
good.
But
We can hear you. Yep.
okay. But there's that long straightaway to start the race, and I think Pelot. I'm not going to say he let Ray Hall past him, but that was going to be hard for Ray Hall to or pull Ray Hall behind him there with Ray Hall being in the better tire situation. And so Pelot just had to sit back there. And as the race went on, Pelot was in the better position as far as push to pass and as far as what tires he had left. So um, by the end of the race, or by the time Pelot was passing Ray Hall, it wasn't really a surprise. It was kind of like a matter of time thing.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with the changes that they made this weekend, and one, none of us knew like how this would truly play out, but given, like, from my perspective, I paid a lot of attention to the practices, the practice sessions, and just seeing like the pace of these drivers. And usually practices can tell you a whole lot. And again, I just go back to how I do some of my research with F1. It just applies in general to any racing series, really. A little bit different in F1 than IndyCar and NASCAR, but you could just see like he was just clearly really dominating with that. And then it carried on into the qualifying. Like the first session that they had, the first group, he just slapped on the primaries and still was in the top 6. Like that is a tell right there. The dude has pace. He's very well into the comfort of the car. Chip Ganassi Racing knew that they have the pace. Like it didn't matter. Like they could have been P3 and they probably still would have ended up P1. It didn't matter because they knew they had the pace. They had the driver. He's patient. And that's something, just like, I know it's not going to really truly apply maybe to Indy 500. Probably still could. It's a little different, right? We're now going at like 200 miles an hour, all that fun stuff, oval. But in a road track, I think as we're getting back into the road courses again, it's something to definitely pay attention to. Is that pace? Like, is that pace going to continue to carry on? Which goes back to the number we're chalking to, right? We said I'd never do that. I think it is the dumbest thing in IndyCar because at any one point, any one of the top 4 could probably get the win. We did finally see yellow. It wasn't really the yellow. I think it was like in the last 15 laps or something like that. So didn't really give us the shakeup we thought we could get. But again, yeah, I think that the way the strategy played out, it showed some drivers where they could manage their pace really well and do it perfectly fine, while others were kind of struggling on it. So I'll tell you what, going back to GridRival, had an awesome qualifying. Didn't really make much, if at all, during the race. I ended up back at even, actually, which kind of unfortunate because I had such a good qualifying, fading some of these drivers. And I think that just Yeah, I think my biggest mistake, and I went against Indy Bet where he took Foster over Devlin, and I took Devlin, and it was looking fine. But then, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see what truly happened in the middle because he ended up just falling back even further than I expected. But he was within the two cars, and he just kept falling
He
back.
stalled it in pit lane his
Is that
second
what
stop.
happened? Okay, so maybe I'll chalk it to like situation like that. Kirkwood actually got really, really close. He was actually in the 7th spot, which I was very impressed
Yeah.
with. Like he came back and got there, and then all of a sudden he did fall back into the 8th spot. Rossi was a little disappointing. There was a little shakeup that was happening, but going back to seeing what happened in free practice, focusing on Felix as an example, like he wasn't really showing true pace throughout the weekend. So like we go back to some of the other races, he was getting it up there in like the top 3, top 4. He's the past 2, he hasn't been showing that. So it's something to pay attention to when you're going into these road courses is he getting that raw pace in the first, like being able to hit the times at the top, because that's an opportunity for us to say we might need to think fading him if he's in that 8-9 again. So I don't know, any thoughts that you saw from like midfield and back of the pack or even the teams?
Yeah, I think that late caution kind of shook up a few numbers there. Rossi was hanging right around. I don't know, like he was 9-10, so that could have even been a hit or miss there. But I think that late caution definitely shook up some people on the restart, just moved them around. So um, yeah, that'll happen when it's that close. I struggled in qualifying, even though we had some of the same plays. I just didn't have the right combinations, and I lost all 6 of my qualifying plays, which was a huge bummer because I felt really good about those. I mean, they, like I said, we were on most of the same stuff, and so it just,
Mm-hmm.
it worked out for you, and that's how I saw it going for me too. I couldn't believe that Ferrucci was able to advance after he barely got any practice. He had issues all weekend. I guess he ended up being decent on the reds, which is what helped him do that in qualifying. But yeah, and it's whatever that'll happen. My race turned out okay. Pato podium cashed. Um, he just kind of stayed up there and moved his way forward from 8th, which is one of the further back spots that people got podium in that race. I think that's a little bit contributed to practice was weird and the whole strategy was weird for the weekend. A lot of people didn't touch their reds at all in any practice portion, which is like unheard of, and that really hurt Andretti. Um, it Penske managed it okay. They actually qualified well, but their whole situation was up in the air. Um, New just had bad luck again. Um, and Penske's looking better, though, I think. Power and McLaughlin had great pace. Power or McLaughlin had a podium, and he kind of just blew that opportunity, sending it too hard into his last pit stop. Um, so I don't love what IndyCar did with that, basically mandating
Yeah.
2 tires each of the alternates and the primaries. It takes away the people who are hired to do strategy. It takes away like our job. It takes away some of the creativity that the teams can come up with, or some of the maybe bold decisions that people can make. And then just on the betting side, that makes it tough. Maybe I should have been a little more cautious going into qualifying with how cautious everyone was about protecting their tire health over the weekend. And it was just kind of a weird weekend with Ray Hall putting 3 cars in the Fast Six, which we know they're good here, but 2 of their drivers being kind of inexperienced and not really of that caliber, was just kind of surprising. So a little bit of a weird weekend, but at the same time, it wasn't, because when you look at the top 5 finishers, it all is like kind of your usual suspects, with Pelot winning, of course. So kind of weird, but mixed in with the
Yeah,
ordinary.
I'm a little frustrated because I did Pato podium last week, and I was like debating doing it this week, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. So I didn't do any. Oh no, I did the JNU one just last second. I was like, I'll just ride with the boys here on that one, and probably was a stupid mistake because I keep telling myself, even though he had a pretty solid drive, I don't know what exactly happened to him in the beginning, but that definitely did not help any of his situation. Where did he end up? Like 12th or 14th or
Yeah,
something like
he
that?
actually had a great race
Yeah.
considering he started last at the last
Yeah,
second.
I
So
don't know what exactly happened because I didn't catch that, but that was really disappointing because I was like, you're kidding me. Like, I just can't hit a top 3 for the life of me. Probably should have just stuck with the Pato, even though I've been burned on him so many times since over the past exact year, going back to Barber last year. I just have not had any luck with him. Funny enough, in our eliminator, I was like, oh, do I do Pato? But I was like, no, I'm going to save him for the ovals. I'm going to save him for the ovals. And here we are, hating myself, even though it kind of worked out. I put Lundgaard, so it's still tight, but yeah, very disappointing. I didn't do anything else. Again, it's just unfortunate that we're not really seeing the same odds like we were seeing. We're going to see a lot coming up this next week. I guarantee you, we're going to see a lot of IndyCar stuff. Knowing like the books love the big events, and I know this because they do it for Le Mans too, which is one of my like favorites to bet. Which is funny because it's not really easy; it's hard, but definitely they'll have something here this next week, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I know from a fantasy perspective, I did climb back up. I'm now up to 42 when I was at 54th place, so I'm slowly creeping back up. I'm getting there. The picks that I had, unfortunately, had Herta, which was my last race for him. Thank God, I'm kind of done with that guy. But I had Siegel, Lundgaard, VK as my star, Pelot, and Foster, and that worked out really well. VK was really awesome actually for me. So
Yeah, BK's had 2 really good
yeah,
weeks.
so I'm looking forward to this next weekend. So yeah, man, as far as everything else, like kind of just to highlight, yeah, I hated the forced pits, and I think you echoed that as well. I don't know if they're planning to do that again. I really hope they don't. I would rather just let them just drop. You guys already screwed it up with the hybrids. Like, just play it out at this point, right? We're probably going to see some volatility anyways through the rest of the season. Now we're getting to some of the oval tracks that are coming up, so you'll see some shakeup. I'm actually very curious to see how Pelot, if he starts really wrapping up the championship, let's just say in the next month, like it's pretty much like his to lose. Like, how much does he actually, is he, I'm not saying he's going to like slow down or anything, but how much is he going to actually put effort if he can't, like if he qualifies P7 in one of the races, is he going to really try to go for P1 when he knows he's got the championship? Let's not risk it. So I'm very interested to see how, as the season gets along, if he does have it, it's one, like, will he get there and continue to push? So I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, I
Scott,
think that's
oh, go ahead.
I think that's a good point as far as betting to kind of look for and wait for. We've seen it happen kind of a couple times, like when Dixon a few years ago won, I think, the first 3 races. And I know this especially because I have this season-long fantasy thing with my friends, and I drafted Dixon that year, and I'm feeling good. And then I needed him to kind of keep, going for wins and stuff, and then he kind of just they say on the broadcast like top 5 them to death. And I think Pelot will be smart, and I think the only way we see him really going for that if he's chasing like a historic win number, or he just really wants to like
Yeah.
step on the throats of everyone.
Right.
But otherwise, I think he's like mature. He's he's calculated. He's gonna start just looking for points, just decent points, so that no one can catch him, and that'll be a good opportunity for us because the books at this point are gonna have to leave him at 2-1 at the highest and things like that. Not on ovals, that'll be different, but road courses and stuff. And will hopefully give us some opportunities of people at longer odds that we can try to pick off, Pelot when he's just gonna try and be coasting to top 8 or something like that.
Yeah, and then we got to pay attention to guys like Scott McLaughlin, who's actually still in the mix. He seems to be the one out of the 3 drivers that's been super consistent lately. He's locked in. He's in the zone. He's feeling it right now. I think he just squeaked out of the top 3, and he did post a video about what happened as he was going into the pit entry, and he just lost a little bit of time there. Otherwise, he probably would have been at P3 there. So from a Penske standpoint, I'm now to the point, like, I say this now because we are getting to oval season. Like, I'm still afraid to take Joseph Newgarden in the oval, but could be different because it's a different style of racing. It's completely different, right? Like, everything's different. So maybe there's something different that we'll see from him. To me, Will Power he's always been like that. I feel like very inconsistent. Like, if he can nail it and do super, super great, or he's not going to get you that top 3. He might squeak into top 5, but we don't get top 5 odds really anymore. So you're kind of left with, like, how do I bet this guy maybe outside of just a head-to-head? To me, I don't think I could touch Will Power's numbers at all, just seeing what's been happening right now and what's I've seen in the past. So I think from a Penske standpoint, Scott is your man you can lean on, especially if odds are favorable. But let's see what Joseph can do here at Indy 500. I don't expect him to win it, to be honest with you. It's hard to do just 2, and he's done 2. Can he do 3? I just don't see it. I like what you posted, but we'll talk about that on Wednesday. So yeah, as far as teams go, like, I think Scott is good for Penske, and then like Chip Ganassi, obviously Pelot is in a league of his own. Armstrong looked good. Let's see how he continues to perform. He's still a little inconsistent at times, but he's showing some pretty good promise. Dixon, of course, is Dixon. Like, I don't know. Very mixed with him this year. Yeah, I don't know. Like, any teams that you have any thoughts or anything with teams as you're kind of, we've gotten through a quarter of the season. I think we're getting a good tell of these teams now at multiple tracks, right? So
yeah. Well, I would say just off of Armstrong, we hit another Armstrong over Ericsson matchup, which they've been giving us that like every week.
It's a gift.
And we went, yeah, and then I had Daly over Ilott, which for a smaller number, but it was kind of funny because Ericsson and Ilott both had an issue in like the first 5 laps. So those were like 2 of the most sweat-free matchups I'd ever had. So that was kind of fun, kind of nice. But yeah, as far as like Power and Dixon, I agree. Those have always been my like main like top 5 guys I target on a Sunday morning for whatever reason. The books, maybe it's because they'll qualify a little further back, like 13th or 9th or something, and so you can get them at like a plus 150, plus 175, and there are people you can count on to sneak into that top 5. But like you said, top 3 gets a little, they're just, you're not counting on them like a Scott McLaughlin. And then I'm thinking about kind of AJ Foyt, and David Malukas has been like maybe the most disappointing driver so far, aside from like, I mean, Newgarden and Herta have just had a lot of bad luck. Like, Herta's got one of the best qualifying averages, and the mistakes haven't really been on him. It's just been the classic story. Newgarden, 2 races or a couple races in a row of, Long Beach, a seatbelt issue, and here at the GP, he's got an issue before the race even starts. So very disappointing from them, but I mean that's just how their seasons are going. But AJ Foyt, Ferrucci hasn't really been delivering, which these aren't necessarily his kind of tracks. But last year he was getting seventh and eighth and getting mixed there. Not really bettable stuff, but stuff where you kind of start to respect what they're doing. But Malukas, this is surprising. Like everyone knows that he's good on those short ovals, but when he came back with Meyer Shank at the end of last season, he was immediately getting fast six and just a little bit off of that on road courses and things, even while he was still rehabbing that injury, which Meyer Shank does have good qualifying pace. We know that, but for AJ Foyt they're just kind of, I mean, I would put them maybe like seventh. They might be behind Ed Carpenter this year as far as strength, which is just kind of weird. So, yeah, I'd say that's kind of the team so far that's been most disappointing, with Malukas being the most disappointing driver.
Yeah, no, he was one of my biggest fades this weekend on GridRival. So I can't trust him, but it will be interesting to see how AJ Foyt does next week, or in the next 2 weeks, I should say. So, yeah, definitely. Just I until then, I'm always going to be on the fade Malukas until he actually puts it up there. So, yeah, Ed Carpenter has been pretty solid. I mean, with Rossi, except for his performance, he fell back to in this last race. But I need to go back and actually rewatch like what actually happened in the middle of that, because they all look like Rossi was in ninth and he seemed fine, right? Like some of these guys seemed like they were in position, but I didn't really capture like what happened in pits, what happened in all these areas. But again, next race is going to be completely different. We'll be taking a different approach. Everything is going to be completely different than what we've seen. So it's a nice little fresh change up that we're going to get. Hopefully we should see a lot more head-to-head options. I know, and we got some other drivers, right, like that are coming on and just doing it just for the IndyCar, right? So, or Indy 500. So it will be interesting to see. But yeah, we're in the thick of the calendar at this point, mix of ovals. So this will be a good first test. We'll get a pretty good read on performance wise and ovals. I mean, we still can take some of this, historic stuff from last year to apply into this year, but it's good to see that we actually feel pretty good of where we're at now in terms of road courses with these teams and what to expect to be able to apply into the next race after Indy 500. So I felt out of all the races so far to date, this IMS made me feel the most comfortable of where I felt teams and drivers were going to be, even though still mixed results in terms of the race itself. But when it came to qualifying, like I kind of felt really good about all the things I was picking. I would just chalk up the race to some of it being the weird strategy with tires and, not enough data and information, but we do know now. So, but yeah, any last thoughts before we sign off, and then we'll see each other again for the pre-qualifying show?
Yeah, no, just to kind of like off what you were saying, I think it's a good point of kind of like we're going to throw basically everything we know and everything we've learned so far kind of out the window for a couple weeks, and we're going to be looking at taking some drivers that we've been fading all year, and we're going to be really high on people that have been disappointing all year. So yeah, it's just going to be different. It's going to be fun though, I think, with all the options we're going to get. I could check. I bet I had over 10 matchups
Already?
No, just last year.
Oh, yeah.
And some groups. We'll get some props. We'll look into those, and yeah, I'm mostly excited for it.
Yeah, I think I'm looking back. I mean, for the Indy 500, without having qualifying too, and we didn't have GridRival options too. I mean, I had six different head-to-head matchups that I was able to nail, which was great. I mean, that's where I want to be able to get active in is more of the head-to-head on race days. Had Dixon top 5, that was pretty nice. And then we did a little combination too, a little Max Verstappen for qualifying in top 6 to go with like Palou and J-New. That was actually
Right.
the Joseph Newgarden one didn't hit, looking back at it, but Palou top 6 or Palou top 10 with Max Verstappen. I'm hoping to do something similar again. Maybe not with Max, but we'll see what happens with the F1 in a couple weeks. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I love the top tens here. I wish we got to do this every race or at least every oval. I had just under 4 units staked on top 10 alone last year. It's always gone well for me, so hopefully I can keep that up. Um, but yeah, and for whatever reason, I seem to get more like free bets, and I'm more comfortable using for that. So, just it's fun to take some chances on long shots, or just I'm gonna be betting more than I do for any other race. So,
Yeah,
it's just more enjoyable. So,
100%.
yeah, we'll talk about it Wednesday.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some good odds. I'm hoping. I don't know what to expect with GridRival, if they're going to be posting qualifying odds so soon, but they don't have anything out yet, so we'll see. But hoping by Wednesday.
I'd imagine they're going to want to see a couple days of practice.
Yeah,
And if they can they might even hold off until like Fast Friday and just give us basically 12 hours to make some plays, because that'll give them a good read on what's really happening. So.
Yeah, really enjoying it. I'm leaning in a little bit more with IndyCar on GridRival, so I'm because of my lack of options. So we'll see. Hopefully, this kind of triggers books to get a little bit more going for IndyCar after Indy 500. So yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you on maybe Wednesday, maybe sometime later if anything happens. But we're hoping Wednesday we can record and start pushing some Indy 500 content, and we'll see what the books have. So yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Let's do it. All right. Sounds good.